What's up, guys? Welcome back to our conference betting previews. It's me and Larson this time. Chase isn't with us. So we're going to do the Big Ten today. If you want to check out the ACC, we've already done the ACC. We'll end up doing the Pac-12, Big Ten, SEC at some point. Big Ten's going to be an interesting conference, though. You look at Ohio State, Michigan at the top, and then after that, there's a lot of question marks. So I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah, I was about to say it'd be interesting outside of who wins it, because that seems pretty obvious right now. Yeah. Other than that, it's kind of a free for all, especially in the I think it's the West Division. The West Division, anybody could win it. I mean, so except for Northwestern. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, I guess. Are we gonna start lowest to highest? You want to go alphabetical?
Whatever's easiest, I guess. No preference.
It's up to you. You got the notes. I'm ready.
All right. Okay, so we'll start. I think I just have them alphabetical for the whole conference. So we can start with Illinois. In the West Division, they probably will not win the West Division. Like I said, it's pretty open. Illinois probably won't win it, but over under, looking at like 4.5. The juice, the small amount of juice that there is on the over. And I actually do like the over. Illinois is a team that everyone's used to like being bad, which I think they've had maybe 10 losing seasons in a row. But I like over 4.5. They've got a pretty decent schedule starting off the first 4 weeks. There's a chance they're 4-0. They'll play Wyoming. I think they'll beat Wyoming because Wyoming should be pretty bad. They'll play at Indiana week 2. They're a small underdog. They can win that game. They'll play Virginia. They could beat Virginia, and they play Chat. So there's 4 right there. But they've got a good quarterback. They've got a really good running back, a guy who's probably going to be second team all Big Ten. So they'll run the ball a lot, which is classic Bielema, and their defense will, hunker down and get stops. So I would lead to the over for Illinois.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Brett Bielema was a good fit. I didn't know they had Tommy DeVito, which I did not know.
Yeah, that just happened. Very random.
Yeah. But apparently they have UTSA's offensive coordinator now. And UTSA was 14th best in points per drive in 2021, and Illinois was 110th. So sounds like their offense is going to get an upgrade.
Yeah, Illinois went there and lost last year in week 2. So they were like, we'll take that guy. So yeah. I'm trying to think of what else. They played in a lot of close games last year, and
yeah, they did.
Again, it's all favorable that first 4 weeks though. They got to really. I'd love for them to go 4-0 if you're going to take the over. So
who did they upset last year? They beat somebody. They
beat Nebraska week 0 in that.
That's right.
And then they beat Penn State in 9 overtimes, which is probably,
I would remember. Yeah, because I was like, man, I sweated out one of their games. I can't remember which one it was.
Because it went 9 overtimes. It was all the 2-point conversions, and they kept scoring. Yeah. Great game.
I remember that was a big this overtime format is stupid kind of game.
Yes. Yeah, it was. It really was. Yeah, I would lean over there for 4.5. For Illinois. The next one is another one.
By the way, insane. I was going to say insane alphabetically that the first team in the Big Ten starts with an I.
Is an I. It's funny. I thought the same thing as I was doing this. I was like, that's weird. There's nobody else here. Yeah, just an I. Indiana. So looking at 4.5 or 4 different places. I love the under. I've actually kind of split my bet. I bet it under 4 and under 4.5. A team that just really will not be very good at all. I mean, their defense is decent. Their defense is their best unit, and it was 70th last year, just because they return a lot of people. They're bottom, they're either bottom worst or second worst in every position in the conference, basically. And then Connor Bazelak, our old friend from Missouri, is there, which is really weird. Another striking thing is they lost their top 4 running backs. How often does that happen? So they got decimated by stuff. They just won't be very good at all. One of the toughest schedules in the country. Have to replace both coordinators. Yeah, it's a mess. So I think there are not very many winnable games. I'll take the under.
I really like Tom Allen. Don't get me wrong. I think it's more of a personal thing. I remember the COVID season, all the videos of him. Tom Allen, great guy. Apparently he took a pay cut just to make things work this year, but I don't think Illinois is going to be very good either. Or Indiana is going to be very good either.
And they have that week 1 game against Illinois. And Indiana is a 5-point favorite. I can't really understand why. I know it's at Indiana, but I look forward to betting Illinois. in that one. They play Western Kentucky non-conference. That's not going to be an easy game.
That is not a gimme. No.
Right. That's not an easy one at all. And then they're at Cincinnati. They're not going to beat Cincinnati. So there's, other than Idaho, what games are they going to win? I don't know.
That's a tough one.
Stay away. Yeah, that's a 3-win team right there. I like that. Under.
Yeah, I like Tom Allen. This might be his last year if they don't hit this over.
Yeah, they're just not very good. Speaking of teams that aren't very good but happen to get more things done, is Iowa. God, I hate freaking watching them so much. They really pissed me off last year. They're at 7.5 though this year, which feels like they're always at 7.5.
It's because they've won 7 games every year since 2013, except once.
There you go. That's the 7.5 every year. What's new about Iowa? I mean, nothing really. Their defense will be good. Their special teams will be good. I mean, their linebackers and DBs are best in the conference. They're going to be great. They have the Big Ten Defensive Back of the Year coming back. And then all the questions are on offense, which we'll talk about with Wisconsin later too. But Spencer Petras is their quarterback. 10 touchdowns, 9 interceptions last year for 57%. No, not very good at all. And they lose a lot on their offensive line. I'm not betting it, but it would probably be an under for me just because I don't trust them at all. I like Kirk Ferentz, but I don't trust him.
I don't trust him either. I would probably take the over just because I feel like they are pretty consistent.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, even if you look back to 2020, they were 6-2. They would have had 7 wins. They are playing. I'll have to look at their schedule, but I imagine, you know, if they've got some pretty bad teams on the docket, surely to God they can squeeze out 8 wins. I feel like Iowa's pretty good. That's like a smart bet. Like if you tell somebody, like, I bet Iowa over 7.5 wins, like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they have Iowa State, which could honestly go anywhere, but they play Nevada, who will suck. South Dakota State will not be good. Those should be good ones. But you know, last year, if you watched them last year, their defense got so many lucky turnovers. How many times did the other team throw the ball right to Iowa or fumble? The Iowa State game where I loved Iowa State. They turned it over 20 times. Maryland did the same thing, turned it over 20 times. Penn State goes to Iowa and beats them if Sean Clifford doesn't get hurt in the middle of the game. So they had a lot of close games last year. They'll probably start off pretty hot. They play Michigan, which could be tough. They'll go to Ohio State, which is going to be a killer loss for them. And they play at Purdue. Purdue's off of a bye. I'll take Purdue in that game too.
I feel like Purdue might actually win their side of the Big Ten.
Yeah, I've already bet that. I like that thinking. For Iowa though, it's a stay away from me. I don't want to touch that at all.
Yeah,
nothing. Maryland up next, teetering on 5.5 or 6, depending on where you look. I actually like 5.5. If you can get 5.5, I'll take over on that. They will score a ton of points. I mean, they have little Tagovailoa. Their wide receiver room is up. I mean, one of the better ones in the country. Copeland's a huge transfer for them. But they've got 2 guys who will be NFL studs at wide receiver. They returned their entire offensive line. They're really excited about a 4-star running back. So they'll put up a lot of points. It's just that their defense is god awful. I mean, they will a lot of overs for Maryland. They'll give up a ton of points. I expect a lot of fun games for them.
You know what one of my favorite traditions in college football is every single year. It never fails. You bet Maryland for the first 2 games. Whoever they play, they'll beat them like 75-0. They'll be awful. And then as soon as they play Ohio State, when they have like the tiniest bit of hype, you just bet Ohio State because they'll lose by 50.
Exactly.
Every year.
It really is. And they'll play, they host Ohio State this year. There was a year a few years ago where they almost beat them. They almost beat Ohio State.
I think it was like 3 years ago.
Something crazy.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that,
though,
because
2019 maybe.
I actually have bet Maryland already week 1. They're minus 21 against Buffalo. Buffalo, who lost a lot of guys on defense. They're not going to be able to keep up at all. In terms of the schedule, though, Buffalo, Charlotte, and SMU, they can go 3-0 in those games. SMU is kind of iffy, but they play TCU the next week. SMU does, who's their former coach. So they're not focused on Maryland. Maryland go 3-0 in that one. They play at Indiana. They play Northwestern. They play Rutgers, the 3 worst teams in the conference. I mean, that's 6 right there, and that's your win. They'll be favored in probably 6 games. And so I think it's favorable outside of, and then if they could grab one, if they could grab a Purdue or Michigan State, I think you're in business. So I actually would take the over there. And then we know them well from the Orange Bowl last year, but Michigan, at 9.5. I don't know.
This
I
is
mean,
a stay away from me.
yeah, absolutely. I don't want to touch this one. I mean, they do return a lot of guys. They have quarterbacks back, wide receivers back, running backs. I mean, they have a lot of guys. It's really just the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they lose Hutchinson and Ajabo, which is big. Their defensive
And
line is
Dax
going to be
Hill.
really experienced. But yeah, I mean, the defense will be the question. It's
Lost
the usual
Gaddis and their
suspects.
defensive coordinator as well. I mean, it's just hard to lose all that
Yeah.
and me lay money on you to win 10 games. That's a lot.
I agree. I did wonder that they ease into their schedule. I mean, they play Hawaii, UConn, Colorado State. These teams are horrible. They'll play Maryland too. They should be 4-0 and they'll go to Iowa. Really, I mean, I don't think they're going to lose, or I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State. I mean, I had them to beat Ohio State last year, which was one of my better bets, but Penn State and Michigan State are the two questionable ones. It's a team that should probably go 10-2. I mean, if you're forcing me, I'll take the over. I don't want to touch it at all.
Michigan's not notorious for being the definitely gonna, I don't trust them. They were good last year and rightfully so. They had great talent, but man, you talk about losing three. I mean, Dax Hill could have been a first-round pick. You talk about losing 3 first-round picks on defense, losing Josh Gaddis, who really made that offense tick. It's going to be hard. I would just probably say under, just on the basis of the fact that they lost so much that I would feel dumb for betting the over. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to touch it. I can tell you that much.
If they go 8-4 and you have the over, you're like, I should have known. So stay away there. And East Lansing, Michigan State at 7.5, which is kind of surprising to some, not to me, but surprising to some that they could go 11-2 last year and come in with 7.5 as your win total. It's another one I don't really want to touch. I mean, we like Mel Tucker a lot. Great guy, great coach. He's kind of mastered the transfer portal pretty early in his coaching tenure. They have 2 really good running backs, one from Wisconsin, one from Colorado that should be really good. And I like their quarterback, Peyton Thorne, is pretty decent and underrated. It's the defense that needs to improve because their defense sucked last year. I mean, their defense, it was outside of the top 100. Secondary was horrible. Ohio State last year.
Ohio State was
the most predictable bet.
Out.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, so my buddy was getting married that day. He's a huge Ohio State fan. The game was at noon. He wasn't getting married till later. We watched it. That game was over in like 20 minutes, man. And it was right after Mel Tucker just signed his extension.
Yes. Yeah, it was one of the few games that I predicted to a T. I think I had first half, full game. I had Ohio State team total over. I had everything. And another predictable loss was to Purdue last year for Michigan State. I thought they were super predictable and just they beat Michigan in that crazy game. Michigan had 2 huge calls that went against them, like fumbles that I remember watching the game that didn't get reviewed, and I was like, he fumbled the ball before he went in the touch, before he went in the end zone, whatever. 11-2 for them last year. I would probably, I don't even know. If you put a gun to my head, I don't know what I would do here. They play Rutgers and Indiana, but yeah, 8. It feels right, I guess.
I'm not touching it though. If it's within, if I think it's going to be within like 1. And it's a team that I just don't really trust, like especially like with just a huge weakness like the secondary. Because you could go ahead and pencil in Ohio State as a loss. If you don't have a secondary, Ohio State is going to pick you apart. It's probably going to be the same result as last year. And so I have a hard time just when I can tell there's a guaranteed loss on the schedule like that. And then it's probably, Michigan's going to be a tough one. I don't know. I'm not high on Michigan State. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be good by Michigan State standards. 8-4. Yeah, but at 7.5, I'm good on that. I guess I'll take the over if I have to.
And 4-0 in 1 possession games last year, probably due for some regression, I would think.
Yeah.
So I won't touch it. Minnesota, would you be surprised if someone told you Minnesota was the most popular over bet in Vegas by the public for the win total, which is 7.5?
Probably. Why? I don't know if you remember this. There was a lot of weird stuff that came out about Minnesota in PJ Fleck this offseason. I don't know if you saw any of that.
I don't think I did. Do I remember? I don't know.
I don't know. It was kind of not that big of a deal, but it was something that I remember. Like I kind of went down a rabbit hole. Apparently, PJ Fleck is not very well liked by his players. Take that for what it's worth. This is just a couple guys saying this. There's always malcontents, but Mo Ibrahim staying healthy is going to be huge for them. I think he can really lead a team. But man, that's the most popular vet in Vegas. That makes me like the under.
Yeah, I think I read it was Minnesota and South Carolina overs are the most popular. Yeah, the Ibrahim thing is huge. They played Ohio State really well last year in week 1. until he got hurt in the middle of the game, and they were a completely different team. It's a small sample size, but it matters. Tanner Morgan is one of the 3 or 4 quarterbacks that is somehow still here for his 6th year. Chris Autman-Bell is a really good receiver.
Phil Jerkovich.
Him and G.
Brock
Jerkovich,
Purdy.
we'll see.
All 3 of those guys. Brock
Yeah,
Purdy's gone now,
it's
dude.
insane. They have Minnesota. They have the best center in the country on a decent O-line. So I think that
he's
matters.
the only one returning though. They lost 4 starters besides him.
Yeah, they'll have to replace a lot. If they can plug and play, that'd be nice. They were the 3rd best defense last year, Minnesota, behind Georgia and Wisconsin. I was really shocked to figure that out. They lost their best cornerback. They lost their leading tackler. They lost a lot on defense, so that'll probably be where the question marks are. They'll be 3-0. It's an easy non-conference schedule for them.
I think I'm seeing why people like them. They don't play Ohio State or Michigan.
Yeah, it makes sense. They get a pretty good draw. Who is it? Is it Michigan State and Penn State? I mean, you could do a lot worse with that. They'll play Rutgers, Illinois, and Northwestern, which should be 3 easy wins. Other than that, it's about just kind of chipping away at some of the questionable games. They've lost to Iowa 5 straight years, which isn't great. And 4 out of their 5 toughest games are on the road. But every game is winnable if you look at their schedule. It's just, at Nebraska, at Penn State, at Wisconsin. I'm not going to say they're going to go 12-0, but all the games are winnable. I hate to bet a popular over, but oh yeah. Well, speaking about popular, yeah, I'd stay away from Minnesota though. I don't want to bet the public like that.
Me neither.
So then Nebraska, you like Nebraska? Nebraska over?
You think I like the? No, I do not.
No, okay, all right.
I don't have a lot of faith in Nebraska. The only thing is, I know they have a pretty favorable schedule. They do play Georgia Southern, my undergrad alum, which is unfortunately is going to be horrible this year. But yeah, wait, is Nebraska next? I know they got a lot of M's and N's.
No, they're
next.
Okay. Yeah, good call. Yeah,
I think I'm good with the alphabet.
Yeah, they're all right. So 7.5. You're taking under 7.5.
I don't know. I just feel like it'd be stupid to take the over. What did they show me that makes me think I should take the over? I mean, I know they did really well covering last year. I think they were the best team when it comes to covering spreads.
Remember, they were the greatest 3-9 team of all time last year. They play the 4 worst teams in the conference this year. That's important. A lot of early home games, like every one of their games, they won't go on the road until sometime in mid-October. It's at Rutgers, which they can win that one. All eyes are focused on them playing Oklahoma, which will be a great game. I think that's week 3. So that's going to be the big one where they're a small underdog in that one. They can probably win that. But there's a world here if they could beat Oklahoma where they run the table and they are, 8-0 playing Minnesota. So it all comes down to kind of just the first 2 months of the season. And Adrian Martinez is there, which is the biggest thing. I mean, that dude sucked. He's gone. So Casey Thompson from Texas is the new quarterback. I like him a lot. It's just going to be about if they can, they've had a lot of really horrible years. If it can all come together for 1 year, I wouldn't touch it. It feels like 7-5 or 8-4.
Scott and Frost has never won more than 5 games. It's hard for me to bet over.
Yeah.
I understand easy schedule, man, but I could easily see them slipping up. Like I said, Georgia Southern's a freebie.
North Dakota.
They got a couple more. Yeah, but
Northwestern. I mean, I don't know.
I just do not trust them whatsoever. Even though they are the greatest 3-9 team of all time, they were still 3-9. They didn't win those games. They covered. That's what's important.
No, we'll figure, and you won't know until that one will come down to the last few weeks, that win total, I would imagine, with some close games. Northwestern is next. Bottom of the barrel of this conference. I've already bet them under 4. It's now, I think it's 3.5 or 4, depending where you find it. It's just a team it's a classic bad Big Ten team. They're not very good. They're going to be super physical. Pat Fitzgerald is a good coach. I respect him. Their best player is their left tackle, who's going to be a first-round pick. They have a decent running back. Ryan Helinski continues his tour of college football. He's now at Northwestern.
No way he's still playing.
Yeah, and he's second season as a starter, so that's something to get excited about. I bet. I guess.
I thought they still had Hunter Johnson, the 5-star from Clemson that just never panned out.
No, they've gone through some rotations with quarterback the last few years, so it's not really consistent. Their offense is going to be one of the worst in the conference, and their defense is iffy. They
lost Brandon Joseph to Notre Dame.
They did. Yeah. It's an under for me just because they're going to be bad. They have one game you look on their schedule that you say they will win that game. It's Southern Illinois. They play Duke and Miami of Ohio, and those games are not going to be easy because Miami, Ohio, at least for a group of 5, is pretty decent. Duke, as bad as they'll be, Northwestern's just as bad. Every other game, they're not going to beat Illinois. Illinois is the easiest team they have left. They're not going to beat Illinois. So 5 of their 7 hardest games are away from home. It feels like a 3-win team, 2 or 3-win team to me. So
would you still take it at 3.5?
I'd still take it 3.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'd have to win 4 games. So they have to beat Duke, Southern Illinois, Miami of Ohio, which is possible. But like, they're not going to beat Ohio State. They're not going to beat Iowa. They're not going to beat Minnesota, Purdue. It's the usual suspects in the conference schedule. You can hedge it. Last game of the season against Illinois. You can hedge right there if they have 3 wins.
There you go.
That's a tough
tough
stretch. I'll take that under for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't think we need to talk a lot about Ohio State. I'm taking their over 10.5. They're amazing. So
I'd take them at 11.5. I think they're going to go undefeated.
I take them I bet them. So I bet them plus 140 on DraftKings to go undefeated in their conference, which
That's a really good bet.
Seems really easy. And I actually just bet them earlier today, minus 15 against Notre Dame. I just think that game has 45-17 written all over it to me. And then
as I've said many times before, whatever they pay Brian Hartline, it is not enough.
So like after Notre Dame, who's their hardest game, I guess it's at Penn State, which is their 12-point favorite. They're going to be double-digit favorites in all their games. So that's an easy over for me. If you don't know anything about Ohio State, then you just have been living under a rock. So we'll take that. Penn State. Speaking of 6-year quarterbacks, Sean Clifford is back again. Here he is. They have a 5-star running back that's pretty cool. Nick Singleton's supposed to be good, but their offensive line is pretty inexperienced, pretty young. They have a really good safety on defense. They have pretty good defensive backs. Other than that, it's a lot of question marks. And James Franklin's like quietly on the hot seat. And it should not get any better with your first 3 weeks at Purdue for week 1 and then at Auburn for week 3. This win total is 8 or 8.5. I have it kind of at both. You'll find that out pretty quickly. I think after week 3, you know if they're going over, because if they lose to Purdue and Auburn, you're done.
It's over. I don't think they beat Auburn either. I like Auburn in that game.
Yeah, I do too. It's a pick. So, and
it'll
then
be
I think
interesting to see Manny Diaz at defensive coordinator. I will say that.
Yes, yeah, a sneaky good hire for them there. And then they're -3 at Purdue in week 1, which feels. I'm pretty sure the public is on Penn State in that one. That feels like that place is going to be crazy.
Purdue is that in West Lafayette?
Yeah.
Oh, I love a home underdog. I love a home underdog.
Yeah. I have to take Purdue there. They at Michigan, they're not beating Ohio State. They play Michigan State, which could be a pretty decent game. If you have the 8, would I go over? I don't know. I just can't. I can't trust them the first 3 weeks of the season. Those games, I can't do that. So it's an absolute stay away from me too. I don't want to. Clifford has to be better. If he can stay healthy, then you're at least in the game. Purdue, 7.5. I kind of go both ways. I bet them to win their division, plus 700. I bet them to win the division. It feels like good value. Another quarterback who's back, Aiden O'Connell, who's probably the best quarterback in their division.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good guy. They lose David Bell, who was Rondell Moore 2.0. They lose Karlaftis on defense, who was really good. It's a lot of question marks on offense. The defense should be pretty good, though. The defense returns a lot of experience. 9 starters from a defense that was really good last year. So it'll probably be a lot of those selling games. Yeah.
Here's my selling point. They don't play Ohio State, Michigan, or Michigan State.
Yeah.
Their out-of-conference games are Indiana State, Syracuse, and Florida Atlantic. And all of their biggest games either have an easier game or a bye week before. I think if they beat Penn State at home, I think this is a lock for over 7.
Yeah, I think so too. At Wisconsin's their hardest game. So, I mean, and that's a breeze, really, if they can go there. It should be what a defensive battle that'll be. It'll probably come down to weeks 5 through 8 here. At Minnesota, at Maryland, they host Nebraska, and then they're at Wisconsin. They got to come out. If they can come out 2-2 in those 4, I think you're feeling pretty good. They play Iowa after their bye week. I really think they'll beat Iowa. I really like that. Purdue at home off a bye week. I really like that. So, 8-4 feels possible, or hopefully better, because if they could win the division, that'd be That'd be nice. I'll take it over.
This is just the classic. This is like the SEC East in like the mid 2010s. Like this is just competing to see who gets to get undressed by Ohio State, who gets to get undressed by Alabama, how it used to be. So
yeah, well, and they actually at least have somewhat of an offense. Them and like Nebraska could actually score. Everyone else can be total defense, and that could fit Purdue too. Rutgers 4 is the number. I haven't bet it yet, but I'm really thinking the under. It's Rutgers. I mean, am I allowed to just say it's Rutgers?
I'm gonna put a tickler in this one. I'm gonna bet the over on them next year because I think they had a pretty good recruiting class last year, didn't they? Like really good for them.
Yeah, including their quarterback. They got a 4-star guy that they really like at quarterback.
I'll put a tickler. Everybody that's watching this, I will bet the over on Rutgers next year. This year, I'm good.
We'll see that. Yeah, it's and Greg Schiano, like he's a good coach, but they have a really good freshman linebacker, 4-star guy. I think he tore his ACL in the spring. He's out for the year, so that feeds into your next year thing right there. They'll be double-digit underdogs in like 7 or 8 games. I mean, even non-conference, they're at Boston College week 1. They're not going to win that. They're at Temple. I mean, Temple's not good either.
That's
but
not a gimme.
The fact that they're going to Temple is weird. They could lose that. They play Wagner. Wagner is the one guaranteed win on the schedule. It feels like, they just might be a punching bag. But, favored in probably 2 games. It's an under for me, for sure.
I would go under, but I'm not going to touch it because I do think Greg Schiano's a good coach and they can be frisky.
Yes, that's the one reason.
Unders on frisky teams.
That's the one reason I haven't touched it either. Is simply Greg Schiano. Honestly, fun fact: Rutgers has not won a Big Ten home game since 2017. So, Jake Fromm's freshman year is how I measure that. That's the last time they won a conference game.
And it was probably against like Maryland or somebody like that.
Yeah, I wish I couldn't remember who it was. It was someone horrible. And then I believe the last one is Wisconsin, who I just go back and forth with Wisconsin because they are supposed to be good and they can't score. And I bet them week 1 last year against Penn State in Camp Randall. Graham Mertz throws.
It was Maryland.
It was Maryland, of course. Yeah, and it was probably like 16-13 or something. Some low score.
It was 31-24, respectable score. Ooh. But I mean, like, does that even really count? Oh, they did beat Purdue at home that year, 14-12.
What a game! What a game that was.
What a barn
that screams
burner.
Big Ten. Yeah,
as they lost at Eastern Michigan 16-13. Wow.
Yeah, that's Rutgers. That's why you take the under right there, and then. Wisconsin Graham Mertz, I just can't trust him at all. Can't trust that offense.
That's what I was going to say. This is a what do you think of Graham Mertz type of bet. I don't know.
He's never been able. He's a turnover machine. I mean, he's never been able to control that side of it. They lose their running back to Michigan State. I mean, they have 2 other ones that are really good. I think Malusi is really good.
Braylon Allen's going to be fun to watch.
The other guy, I can remember his name. He's going to be good. Their defense that was number 2 last year returns 3 starters. I mean, they lose everyone on that side. It really comes down to I just can't trust it. I can't remember if I've said it, but it's at 9 or 8.5, depending on where you look for the wins. I
would definitely go under, but 8.5 is.
Yeah, I actually like that. I would go under 9. That's my thing here. Their non-conference is pretty easy. They're going to get destroyed at Ohio State early in the season. They'll play Illinois at home, but we've seen Illinois go there and win. That's not an easy one.
Brett Bielema revenge game. That'll be That'll be an interesting one.
Like even like they go to Northwestern, and Northwestern is horrible. And I said it, I bet they're under, but like that's one of those games where Northwestern's up like 13-7 in the 3rd quarter, and you're like, oh wow, like interesting. It's just I just don't want anything to do with them. And then they're supposed to be favorites for their division with Iowa and Nebraska, and they go to Iowa and to Nebraska, so that's a huge disadvantage. 4 of their 6 hardest games are on the road. I don't want to touch it at all. I do like under 9 if you can take that. Make them win 10 games for you to lose that. So
yeah, because I don't see Wisconsin win. I still think Purdue's going to win the division. That's my pick.
Yeah. I actually
Purdue Ohio State Big Ten championship. Ohio State beats them 55-10.
Take Ohio State spread in that game.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's it. It's a Big Ten right there. A lot of fun.
I thought that was good. I feel pretty comfortable. I don't feel there's not many that I love, but the ones that I do love. So
yeah. And SEC's next for us, I think. So that'll be That'll be the good one.
Yeah, that one will probably be a little longer than these, but
I would think so. Yeah. But God, the Pac-12 video is going to be like 6 minutes.
Oh God, dude, I couldn't tell you the first thing about like. Dude, you want to talk about Arizona football? I know they're horrible.
We'll do that. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
All right, guys. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll be checking in pretty soon. We're gonna do our week 0 picks next week too. We've already talked about that. If you haven't checked out the ACC video, check it out. This was Big Ten, SEC next, and yeah, we'll see y'all soon.